Hello and welcome to the P.G.M Show live again, and this time, no glasses. Yes, I thought I might just do it with no John Lennon glasses and let you see my wickedly red, puffy sort of eyes. It's now you can see my whole face without this glowing interpretation of a bad impression of John Lennon, man. That's not a John Lennon impression. So what am I doing? I'm babbling again. So pleased to have you back all in this magical place called the BGM Show Live. We have got a great guest, and yes, it was meant to be. I'm probably going to give away in the behind the scenes look last week, but it was the time zones that got my brain all flustered and fluffled, and if that's even a word, fuffled, in a tizzy. So my goodness, time zones me do not mix. Anyway, enough about me. Let's start the show. Yes, well, hello, as I scratch my eyebrow. That's not really professional, is it? We have another Brit, another UKian. That's probably, it's not even a word. I probably made that up. Oh God, I am horrible at this. But anyway, let's get him on. Let's get Mr. Reynolds. Let's get him on now. Yes, Reynolds Reviews. Let's cue his march. So I had to get that in. Here we are.
Yeah,
Oops.
right. How you doing, Pete?
Oops, forgot about that. So
Yay.
it's fallen on the ground. You can still probably hear it. So that's all right. Here we go. Oh,
We did it. We've done it finally. We're here.
What a disaster that was. Hello. Hello. Look.
How are you doing, man?
Fantabulous.
Fantabulous.
Yeah,
we got there. Hey, Tim. We can see Tim.
Yes, we finally got there.
Yeah.
That has been one of my bugbears of my entire thing on this journey is time zones. From
They're confusing.
to Australia's got a hugely vast array of time zones. I don't know how they live in that country, but that's a whole new different story altogether. But again, those Australian people, aren't they fantastic?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got some really good Aussies in the community. Absolutely.
And if I had an audience, they would be shaking their heads about the comment. But I don't. Anyway, Luke. Again. Again. Yes, not again. It's so wonderful to have you on the PGM Show live.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, pleasure.
Now you're a retro collector, mainly, aren't you?
Bit of both, a little bit of both. I mean, I do collect some modern stuff. I'm trying to sort of move away slightly from it now, for the main reason really that obviously modern stuff kind of just keeps going. The collection room is completely full now, so I've kind of had to make some sort of difficult decisions, if you like. I've had to look around and think, right, how am I going to navigate this from sort of here on in? So the decision was really that I've got to try and step away from more modern lines. So things like Motor Origins. I love Motor Origins. You can see a bit behind me, but it just keeps going. And then you're into, these Mattel Creations sort of crazy pre-orders. Yeah. I just don't have the time or inclination to go after those. And once they'd sort of done all the characters that I was familiar with, I kind of weren't that bothered about collecting them. So I've got a sort of nucleus of figures which I'll keep. But I've got to try and stick to more vintage stuff because that's where my passion is really. And you know where you are with it. For example, with Star Wars, 96 figures to collect. Centurions. You know where the lines ended. You know where all these lines ended, and you know what you've got to collect. So, yeah, I've started to move on a little bit of my modern stuff to try and create room for vintage stuff coming in. But that doesn't mean to say I won't pick up modern stuff, because I will. I will buy more modern things, but I'm not going to commit to modern lines, if that makes sense.
What was your childhood like with collecting the way you collect?
Yeah, well, I mean, I never really collect as a kid. Obviously, we had plenty of toys and things like that, but I wouldn't say I had the presence of mind as a child to collect stuff as such. Obviously, we had a lot of toys. It was mainly sort of Star Wars, Mask, Thundercats was in there. Transformers was a big one when we were kids. But unfortunately, as we grew up and we got other interests, sports, we were very big on sports, me and my brother. Another interest came in, so our toys just sort of slowly disappeared, I think, onto car boot sales and things like that. So sadly, there is nothing toy-wise in this room that is from my childhood. But it still gives me the same, that same feel and that nostalgic kick. But yeah, when we were kids, we had plenty of stuff, but never kept anything, unfortunately.
So in your in that little bit of a time, the hobbies changed, or did they just not exist? They just went on a different path. Because in my life, it was toys when I was a kid, but when I got into the adult stage, it was completely different.
Yeah, I mean, I never lost the love for when I, as I was growing up and I lost all my toys. I say lost, I didn't actually lose them. They disappeared they got given away to neighbor kids, some of them, or car boot sales, or whatever you would call them. But I kind of always used to, every so often I'd think about them. I'd think, I loved my toys as a kid. But growing up, we say we got into sports, and we never really, I never really had the presence of mind to think I'm going to start recollecting. And then it kind of came with the breakup of my previous relationship. We sort of, me and my partner went our separate ways. I got my own place, and the realization suddenly hit me that actually I can have anything I want here now. I don't have to sort of worry about keeping things packed away or decorating a certain style. I can actually have anything I like out on display. So I started sort of looking. This was maybe around 12 years ago now. So I started to look then, eBay, wherever, about potentially starting to pick up sort of old toys from my childhood. I started at that point also. It was around the same time I started seeing my current partner, Rachel. And then I'm blaming Rachel. She started this. She picked me up a birthday gift. At the time, I had a birthday sort of not long after we started seeing each other. And she picked me up what you would maybe call a mid-range, like a mid-size Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi lightsaber. It was brilliant, and it was one of them things that I just sort of, it took me back to childhood. And then obviously I started to think, well, what else can I get? What other lightsabers are out there? So I started looking at lightsabers. I managed to pick up a couple of master replica ones. Once I got those, I started to think, well, what else is there? Then I started to see the toys. I started to pick up some of the vintage toys, and then all of a sudden it kind of turned into what you see behind me, and I was sort of a what you would call an adult collector, and it kind of just snowballed to the point where I'm not really sure how it happened, but I certainly couldn't give it up now. But there was a huge, obviously, period from my early teens maybe to being 30 years old that I had nothing and didn't really think about collecting anything, but never lost the love for it, if that makes sense. Always used to think fondly back about my toys, and so this was maybe inevitable one way or the other. But yeah,
hope you can't hear that, because there's a fire engine siren going out.
Oh, I can hear something, but it's not particularly loud.
This way, anyway. Well, I think we're all adult collectors, really, aren't we? I mean, but we've still got our kid inside us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just mention something that Tim has put in the chat as well, that I actually never, and Tim might be able to explain why it's a good place. I never use Etsy. He's just put, it's always eBay for Star Wars toys along with Etsy. I never see Etsy as a place to get things like that. So I mean, Tim might be able to tell me that it's actually quite a good place to pick things up. I never think of Etsy for things like that.
Yeah, eBay. Yeah. especially if they're eBay's quite high in prices for
It
even
is. But
even
Etsy is somewhere I never think to look for them.
uh, uh, even I look at eBay mainly, not Etsy,
Yeah.
and their prices. I don't know where I go to, but 3 3/4, even 6 inch.
Yeah.
They're quite pricey because I think I'm just looking at the scalpers mainly anyway.
Yeah.
Prices, you know.
Well, they are, because I mean, a lot of the time, people use eBay obviously to try and gauge prices that you can maybe charge for something, or what, you know, if you're looking at buying something, what am I looking at paying? And I always say to people, a lot of people do, look at the sold listings. Don't look at the live listings, because a lot of the time it's full of chances that just because someone's asking a certain price doesn't mean that's what they're going for and that's what they're worth. You know, so you go into the sold listings, you might want a figure that's been selling for £40 and £50. Someone's got it on there for 150. Well, that's why it's not sold. That's why it's live. So it's not worth £150. It's only been selling for 40 or 50. So yeah, I think it's always best to look at sold listings just to see what they're selling for, not what people are asking for them.
I mean, there was that Carradine,
Yeah.
6 inch figure that went for phenomenal prices. Still is going for phenomenal prices because of that thing that she said, and then the whole mess arrived for Disney, and her figure went up, increasingly up. Going, well, I've got one Carradine, but it's the credit collection 6 inch Carradine.
Oh yeah. I think have I got one? Yeah, I've just got the retro collection Carradine. I think that's the only figure I've got.
I've got the TVC Carradine as well. But I was searching for the Carradine, the just a 6 inch Carradine without the credit collection colors on it, because that's more way lighter, and that again selling for quite a lot of money. To tell the truth, still quite a lot of money. So
yeah, Tim's just saying the 6 inch ones go for a lot. Yeah, they're really expensive.
It's getting to this early, but how did you decide to actually have your channel? What gave you the inspiration to get a channel going?
Just before I carry on, Pete, I don't know if you realise you've frozen on my screen. I don't know if you're aware of that. All right. Okay.
Yeah. You froze as well, so it might have been.
Oh, have I?
Yeah.
Oh, you're back. You're okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. It's
I don't know if I'm back.
I don't know. I mean, to me they're just the technical difficulties.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. What was it? The channel? Yeah. There was, I wouldn't have said there was any particular inspiration. It was something that I was sort of toying with. Me and Rachel moved into this house around maybe 4.5 years ago now, and when we were I was moving from my place, she was moving from her place. Whilst we were looking for a property, we were looking for a 3-bedroom property, and one day she sort of turned around to me and sort of said, "Well, do we need a 4th bedroom really?" And I sort of said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, all your stuff, because obviously before I had a whole apartment to myself, so my stuff could go anywhere. It was scattered around the apartment all over the place." And she sort of said, "Well, we're going to need a whole separate room for your stuff." And I sort of said to her, "Well, if you think that's best, what a great idea." So I set up the room. It looked very different when we first moved in, but I set up the room. Then, of course, it was one of those where I sort of thought to myself, this would maybe make a good sort of idea for a YouTube channel. And I toyed with it a little bit, and then I was gonna, then I weren't gonna. And Rachel sort of said to me, just do it. And I said, "Well, there'll be a million toy channels on YouTube, a lot of them better than what I can show and what I can do. I don't know if I'm going to bother." And then somebody from work sort of said, "Look, I think it'd be a good idea." So eventually, then lockdown hit in March 2020. So I toyed with the idea. Rachel had sort of said to do it. A friend at work had said to do it. And then once lockdown hit, it was the perfect opportunity to start, because we were all at home. I mean, I was still working, but we did have we did have time. I weren't working on a weekend because I do have a weekend job. So it was kind of born out of a couple of people saying, why don't you have a go? And then lockdown. It kind of seemed obvious to just have a go at it then. I had plenty of time, but I didn't have any fancy equipment. I mean, even from then to now, I use my iPhone from start to finish. I've got no laptop. I mean, I have got a laptop, but I don't have an editing suite on it. I've got no fancy audio equipment, no fancy lighting. I just do it from start to finish on my phone. So the quality of my stuff probably won't improve any more than what it is now. But I just, friends and Rachel just encouraged me to do it. Then I started watching certain channels. The first channels I came across, the first three was Retro Blasting, Analog Toys, and Toy Polloi. They were the first two channels I came across. Took a look at what they were doing. So I would say those channels didn't necessarily inspire the channel, but they certainly inspired some of the content early on. But obviously since then, I've been going around 3 years now, met some amazing people, yourself included. And yeah, love it, really enjoy it. You know, it's in fact, I didn't have any clue that it would carry on for this long. I thought I would kind of do it for a little while and then it would just peter out. And I didn't expect to meet the people I've met and peter out. Yeah, no pun intended.
I thought I'd peter out as well.
Yeah, I thought it would just fizzle out, but no, it kind of grew into. Yeah, it kind of grew into something that I didn't really expect. And when I say that, I don't mean the channel because the channel's not big at all, but it kind of grew as far as the amount of people I met and the sort of interactions that I had with people, getting invited onto other shows. And so, but it was mainly encouragement from friends and Rachel. That was a long answer, but yeah.
By the way, people, it appears that I did cut out, but Luke didn't cut out. So I'll keep my tabs on it so I can. If I do this, that's me just doing a joke. But if I do that, I will try not to.
Hey,
sometimes, Michael. Sometimes my Wi-Fi does actually go down. I don't know what that is. It just drops out a little bit. Maybe that's why I froze and Luke didn't. But that could be the problem. But I think everything's okay. I think
we're okay. Yeah.
But and there we go. Yeah, there we go. I'm back now. So so it's basically retro with you, isn't it? I asked that question before.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah, mostly.
So with the community, it's really good for you because you can actually talk basically with everybody, can't you? I mean, about your collection, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm very lucky that I've got quite a lot of what I would call a circle, a particular group, a nucleus of people that I speak to regularly. I get lots and lots of help and support from a lot of people. I get loads of advice, help, support, not just for YouTube and things like that, but a lot of people give me sort of personal advice now. I know people well enough to speak to them on a personal level, and I'm amazed by the amount of people I'm able to interact with and that contact me and speak to me. And I mean, Tim Hayes been one of them. Every so often he'll shoot me a message or whatever, just see how I'm doing, and I'll ask him how he's doing. And it's things like that I never ever considered happening. I just thought, I'd put videos out and people would comment and blah blah blah. I never thought for a second I would get contacted by people privately or whatever and end up speaking to people like I do now, and the amount of people that I do, all different parts of the world. It's quite surreal, really. But I'm very, very lucky, that I feel massively supported in the community, and plenty of people to talk to and lean on whenever I need to. So it's really nice.
Sorry, it's
a nice 1960s comedy. Gas Pump Girls, where "Let It Peter Out" is a line referring to pumping gas. I've never heard of that, Tim. Never heard of that film. I'll have to look that one up.
Hello, Linda. How are you?
Hey, Linda.
Yes, it's a strange old kind of collecting, isn't it? I mean, collecting is a strange old thing, isn't it? It's either you. I mean, as your videos imply, it's the love of it, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's the love of
Yeah, I mean, I've said to people in the past, you know, I collect for. I mean, I'm not going to get into certain debates about sort of things like repro and stuff like that, but I collect purely because it reminds me of my childhood. I have an affection for these things that I collect. It reminds me of. I was about to say happier times. That suggests I'm not happy now. What I mean is like maybe simpler times, you know, where we didn't have stresses and strains of adult life and bills and mortgage or rent payments and stresses and strains of relationships and families and all that stuff. You know, it reminds me of a simpler time where you just bought your toys, you played with them, you went out on your bike, on your BMX. That was, you know, it was time to come in when it got dark, and it just takes me back there in an instant, and I find it a very, very sort of therapeutic thing. And this is why I collect. You know, I collect purely because it makes me remember those times and makes me happy. I don't collect for monetary value. I don't collect for financial gain. I don't collect for investment value of my collection or anything that I have doesn't interest me in any way, shape, or form. People sometimes contact me and go, "How much do you think your collection's worth?" So I don't care. You know, I could maybe try to put a number on it, but I have no interest in what any of this is worth. It's just what it's worth to me, as far as how it makes me feel and what I take from it. You know, and that's purely the only reason why I collect, because it reminds me of my childhood. And even though my childhood was turbulent in places, I had a happy childhood, and yeah, got a lot of toys. So yeah, that's why I do it. It's not in any way. I never ever think about the financial side of it. Or when I say financial side, obviously I have to think about what I'm spending, but I certainly don't ever think about what things are worth. And you know, I don't collect for investment or monetary reasons.
Do you go? Here's Tim's answer.
It's a pretty obscure B-grade teen comedy. I'll look out for it, Tim. I'll Google it.
Do you go out hunting? I mean, for toys?
I always find that. Yeah, I always find that a bit of a strange thing when people say I'm going out hunting, because if you go to a toy shop, I'm not sure if you can class it as hunting, but there's nothing around where I am, Pete. So the nearest toy shop is maybe 45 minutes away, which isn't a long way, but it's a modern toy shop. So you know, if you're into modern collecting, then fine, you'll be okay, because it's a huge toy shop. But it doesn't really cater for the majority of what I pick up. I might pick up the odd thing from it here and there, because I do get the odd bit of modern stuff. But there's nothing really around here where I could go quote unquote hunting. No, there's just nothing vintage around here. They seem to be very lucky in the US. They seem to have a lot of vintage toy shops, but no, unfortunately, that I'm not able to do that. So everything gets bought online, unfortunately, where I am.
All right. So you have a lot of. I see you have a lot of good friends in the community, like Monkey Boy, and Scuba Pete as well, VTR Dave. So
yeah,
you must kind of. Can I say it nice and kindly here? Trade with them.
Yeah, I mean, often. I mean, I'm very, very lucky that I get a lot of help, like I said, from a lot of people. So there are various different people now that, I mean, the more you'll know yourself, Pete, the more you talk to people, you talk about your collection. So you get a grasp on what people collect, what they've got, what they want. So you do get a good idea of the people that you're dealing with in the end, where their sort of collecting passion lies and what they need. So I'm very lucky that people often contact me and say, I've spotted this, Luke, I'm at this fair, do you still want this? Or Luke, I've picked this up in a job lot, are you still looking for these? Or so I do acquire quite a lot of stuff from people getting in touch and saying, I know someone that's got one of these, or I've got one of these, or I'm at a toy shop and they've got one of these, because they know I'm not going to find them unless I jump onto eBay, which again, you know, you're often talking big money. So like I say, I'm very lucky that I get offered a lot of stuff from other collectors if they're thinning out their collection, or when they're out and about, they get in touch to say, we've found this, we've found that. Do you want it? So I'm very, very lucky that way.
Sorry, there's Tim Hayes coming up with the other answer for you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, cheers, Tim. Love Monkey Boy, Scuba Pete, and VTR Dave. Yeah, 3 top guys. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you met. Let's talk. You met Pete, didn't you? You met Scuba Pete and
Pete and Leslie,
wife, didn't you?
Yeah,
Leslie.
Yeah, we were very lucky. They spent a day with us when they were in the UK. Yeah, it was brilliant day. Yeah,
I mean, you
lovely
must have
people.
must have had a field day talking
We
about
did,
all this
yeah.
stuff.
Well, I mean, I think me and Pete
Field
consciously
day,
tried to keep it.
field
Well,
day. Sorry, this is a
yeah,
bad choice of word. You must have had a
no,
great conversation.
I think we tried to mute the toy talk a little bit because obviously we had to think about the ladies, and I think we'd have bored them to tears. So, but we had just a fantastic day. We had some good weather on the day they came. Yeah, so we were a bit surreal to have them here, and but yeah, lovely people. You couldn't wish to meet two nicer people, and obviously they brought me some very nice treats as well. So,
See that?
but yeah, lovely people. Really nice to meet them, and they're coming back. So hopefully we'll see them again next year.
They can have another field day. Really,
Another field day, yeah.
I'm so terrible at this. I tell you, I've done this for so long, and I'm still so damn bloody terrible at this. It's what I mean. Collecting. I mean, I'm gonna introduce myself into this. My life in collecting is not retro, absolutely not retro. It's I find it. I find it. I loved it when I was a kid because I Star Wars. I mean, is Star Wars prevalent in your collecting? There's
Star
like
Wars. Star Wars. Yeah, I mean,
Star
it was. I mean, I've said this a few times now. Star Wars will always be my number one collecting line. If someone said to me, "You've got to get rid of everything in your room, you can only keep one line," it would be Star Wars. There's no doubt about that. I love Mask, I love Transformers, etc., but it would be Star Wars. However, until maybe 6 months, 12 months ago, Star Wars was massively prominent in the room. You walked in here, you would see mostly Star Wars stuff. But in the last 6 months, 12 months, maybe, my collection has become so much more diverse. And I think that I haven't necessarily fallen out of love with vintage Star Wars collecting, but I feel a little bit suffocated by the prices at the moment. I mean, the prices just keep going up and up and up and up and up. And it's kind of driven me to look away from Star Wars collecting for a while, look at other toy lines. And I think because I was so, obsessed with collecting Star Wars, I forgot that there were other lines from my childhood that I loved, like Mask, like Motu, like Transformers, like Centurions, Supernaturals, Thundercats, the list goes on. But because the prices were going so, and they continue to do so, it kind of forced me to look at other lines that were far, far more affordable. So if you walk into this room now, there is still a lot of Star Wars. If you look at the back wall that you can't see, there is still plenty of Star Wars over there. But there's a hell of a lot of other stuff now. But I would always go back to Star Wars. It will always bring me back. I'm a bit frustrated with the prices at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, prices. You should try living in my country, mate.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Extreme, even for TVC retro action figures. I mean.
So what would they pull then? I mean, I don't know the conversion rate. So.
In Toy World, our Toy World is a boutique toy store.
Yeah.
I was looking at was it Saul Guerrera, and that was $80 for that.
So what does that equate to UK then? Do we know? Let me see if I can Google that.
I think.
So
I think
80 New Zealand dollars, is that? Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. See if I can. Just bear with me, Pete. I'm just going to curious because I don't know the conversion rate, so I'm interested to know. 80 New Zealand dollars into pounds. Let's have a look. So that's like 40. So what was that figure?
$80.
So that's like 40 British. So basically your dollar is about half. So it would have been 40 pounds for us.
But that's only one shop. That's only one shop, Luke. So if I go into EB Games, let's say, or warehouse, because we call it a warehouse, so it's a big red shed thing. It's going to be cheaper, but it's going to be in the $45 to $50 range. All right.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's a lot. Right. Okay. So it's a lot more reasonable.
TVC and EB Games or warehouse can be $35, right? And Toy World's going to be a lot more, right? It's going to be $45, which is really drastically huge, exorbitant prices.
Yeah.
But that's how collecting is going, really, for mainly the big top brands like Hasbro. And now Hasbro and Mattel again are teaming up with each other. So the prices are probably going to be hiked up way more. But it was always in the collecting community where we have the same old not argument, but same old discussion, is the prices about those kind of toys. I mean, would you agree with that? Getting back into that?
Absolutely. I think prices now. I think it's a strange one because in my head, they can't keep going up. You can't just continue to keep going. I think that there has to be a sort of ceiling rate where things stop selling. Now, I know obviously there's plenty of people out there with far deeper pockets than me, but I kind of just convince myself there has to be a level where prices get to where sales just significantly slow down because they get to such a point where people either can't buy them or just refuse to buy them. But with Star Wars, again, it doesn't seem to be other. I mean, obviously, vintage toys in general are expensive. Mass toys, certain ones, and they all seem to have their own big hitter characters. You go into Brave Star, Thunderstick is a hell of a lot more money than a lot of the other figures. 30, the horse, Brave Star's horse, he brings crazy money now. 200 and 300 quid. Whereas you can pick up a complete Brave Star for maybe 50, 60. It's like anything. You get to Star Wars and you look at the last 17 figures. So every line has their own figures that bring more than others. But in my head, prices have to stop at some point. Something's got to give, but when and if, I don't know. Yeah, but
would you say that Mask or Action Force are pricey now?
Well, I don't know much about Action Force and GI Joe because it's not a line I collect, so it's not a line that I sort of keep my finger on the pulse. But Mask is extremely reasonably priced. Again, it's got its own what you would call big hitters. So, for example, Laser Command will bring a lot of money, especially if it's boxed. You can be talking £400 or £500. Some of the later vehicles, even though they're not the better vehicles, because they're later on vehicles and they didn't maybe sell as much, they're now harder to get. So they tend to bring a lot of money. But if you're looking for Series 1 and 2 vehicles, which most people do because they're the most recognizable, they're extremely reasonable. I mean, you could get a boxed Condor for 30 quid. It's perceivable. And if you go, I mean, I'm sort of part of the UK Mask Facebook group. Some of the deals you can get on there for vehicles, complete vehicles and box vehicles, are a steal. And that's the difference. I mean, if I was to get £100 in my hand, I'm not going to go and buy one last 17 3.75 Star Wars figure. I'm going to buy 2 or 3 boxed mass vehicles because why wouldn't you? It's a very reasonably priced line.
That's the joy of your collecting, isn't it? It's like finding the bargains.
Yeah.
Onto these websites or
I think for me and probably for a lot of people that's part of the enjoyment, like you've just said, Pete, that not just getting the things I want, but getting the things that I want at what you believe is that bargain price. Because I'm not a rich man. My toy budget every month is very, very, very modest, even more so now with the cost of living crisis in the UK. So I've got to try and find things at that absolute best, that I believe is the absolute best price I'm going to see it for. Because I think not only do I get a buzz out of getting what I want, I get a buzz out of getting what I want for that, what I feel is that bargain price. But yeah, it's difficult. And one thing that you've got to be, which I struggle with, is patient. You've got to be patient, but it's not not my strong suit. I'm not patient. No, I'm not patient. I'm a bit monkey see, monkey do. I see a figure that I want, I go buy it. And I'm not great with patience and waiting.
Hello, Luke. There's another Luke in the chat. Wheels and Cow Boom.
Hey, mate.
From
how you
doing? From Australia. So,
yeah, how are you doing, man?
Talking to Luke, talking to another Luke from Great Britain. Yes.
All the way from.
Yes. A retro collector, and it's the excitement, isn't it? Really,
It is absolutely, yeah. It's just that it's the feeling that you get from it. For me, I don't in any way say think about money, investments, anything like that. I just the buzz that you get from picking something up. I actually got something last night that will be featuring on a video that is something that I've been chasing for quite a long time. And I've said to other people, Pete, because I'm always on a budget, I do have to make compromises with my collecting. So I may pick something up that I'd maybe like in a little bit better shape, but I've got to accept that for what I can pay for it, it's going to be maybe a little bit more beaten up than others. So, but I did pick up something last night that will be on a future video that, something I've been chasing for a while, and you're usually looking well into the sort of 100, 150 mark to get it. And I got it for 50 last night. So I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I got it for 50. So,
but I like your show because it is the nostalgic feels into
thanks.
it.
Yeah,
You can hear your excitement in your voice. It's like a newborn child. No, I just
yeah.
it's like a child. It grabs it opens that nice freaky box, but it's not old, decrepit, dirty. Sorry, I'm making this extreme exaggeration, but it's that it's that holding it and sniffing it. And,
well, I've got to say I'm not sure. I can't remember the last time I sniffed one of my action figures. I know Dean enjoys to do that on all things 80s, but
I'm going to start doing that on my channel.
Get the TIE Fighter pilot, give that a sniff.
Yeah, so it's that plastic crack, that old plastic crack.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, this is going down a dirty path. I'm not going to go there. That's again, I've got to say, why I think I like your shows is the happiness, the happy joy in your voice.
Yeah, I try not to be over the top. I know I watch some channels and they're very, very enthusiastic and they jump around so I try not to overdo it. But also I try to, if I ever do unboxings, I try to, so obviously I open them fresh on camera. I don't open them and then redo it. Just to make sure there's a genuine reaction. So the reaction that you get on camera on my videos is a genuine reaction. So I try to do it that way. It does Tim, all things 80s. So just down Waterworld figures. I mean, I can imagine they're probably quite collectible now because the film wasn't received massively well, was it, back in the day? I can imagine they're collectible now, though.
It's $90 probably in Australia. It's probably $90.
So what's that? That'd be about around £60, I would have thought.
Probably. I actually do like Waterworld. It's one of my favorite films. I've got it in my collection.
I quite like the film. Yeah, I just don't think it was received well, was it? I like it. Yeah.
No, I know the figures because they weren't prevalent in this country much at all.
Yeah.
And you really can't find them anywhere. To be honest with you,
I've never looked for them. So I won't be able to tell you. I've never actually searched for them ever. So there must be 90s figures, are they? I'm trying to think now. 90s.
Yeah, the 90s figures. Yeah, I mean, I think you get a Kevin Costner, and you get a the smoker. What's his name? The lead villain in it.
Yeah, I think he's played by Dennis Hopper, isn't he? But I can't remember the character's name.
Yeah. So. Their class is probably a little bit more retro now than anything else.
Yeah.
But I mean, your collection spans probably 2 masks and 2 and all those retro stuff. Is it a lot older? Would you say in the 70s era to the 80s era?
I think my collection is majority 80s. Obviously Star Wars, you did get some Star Wars figures in the late 70s. So, but I think after Star Wars, I don't think I've got anything in my collection that was 70s. It's majority 80s. And I think that's because obviously it was the 80s that I grew up in. In fact, I probably would have appreciated the 80s a little bit more if I was born a tiny bit earlier. I was born in 79, so the majority of the toys I played with as a kid were 80s toys. By the time we got into the 90s, I was into my early teens, and I think other things were starting to take over. So it was the 80s really that was the nucleus of my sort of playing times with toys things like that. So so my collection is generally 80s toys. Now, like I said, there is a bit of modern in there, and there probably is the odd 90s figure and things in there as well. Obviously, the 70s toys will be only Star Wars, and it'll be the earlier figures in the sort of late 70s. But I've got to admit, actually, now he's not. I don't think he's here, but one channel that is inspiring me here and there to maybe start picking up some 90s stuff, because I've got some TMNT, which is early 90s. Is Scott Crusher. I love Scott's channel, and a lot of his, and he generally collects 90s.
Yeah.
And I've got to admit, I do enjoy watching what he collects, and I'm very easily influenced. And Scott's channel does get me looking at some early 90s stuff. So there might be some 90s stuff start creeping into the collection. Great to see another Luke rocking a beard. Yeah, it needs a bit of a trim and a tidy up, Luke. But yeah, so I am looking
and
at.
If you're comparing the years, Tim, if you're comparing, sorry, Luke, if you're comparing years, I'll beat you probably both, because I was born in 71, but that's neither here or there. So that means, my long hair and I'll stop there because it could be a long story.
That reminds me of Star Trek Next Generation. Yeah, was it Wesley Crusher, Tim? Is that Will Wheaton's character, Wesley Crusher, was it? I'm not a Trekkie, but I think I know that.
I'll go off topic if I start talking about myself all the time.
Talk away, Pete.
It all started in 1971. No, it's just
a promiscuous child.
So I was actually. It was. That's why I'm going to a psychologist now. Let it all out. You have a rich friendship with the community, right?
I'd like to think so. Yeah, I don't think I've made any enemies yet.
Shabby and Tez and what's his name? Matt.
Matt, Tez and Shabby. Yeah.
I like myself. I've been welcomed in to this community.
Absolutely, of course, yeah.
It must be fun to have that kind of camaraderie. From these guys, and
it is. I'm very lucky that I met them obviously quite early on in my sort of YouTube time. When I met the guys, they were on the Pala Boys, and I started watching that. I was a guest, I think, once, possibly twice, certainly once. And then when they branched off and did their own show, I was very, very lucky that they treated me then and still treat me as kind of like the fourth sort of member of the USR team. So whenever it's really nice that whenever one of the guys can't do it, they always contact me and ask me if I can step in.
You're the fourth Beatle man.
A little bit. Yeah, they treat me as the fourth member unofficially. But I met those guys very early on, and again, they sort of pretty much took me under their wing as far as YouTube goes, and I still talk to all three of them pretty regularly. But of course, then everyone that I've met from there kind of branched from them. Guys that they've introduced me to, or when I've been watching the show, people that are in their chat, and you get chatting to them. So yeah, really, this sort of big circle that I kind of swim in probably started with those guys. Yeah, it says Matt and Shabby. Everyone I've met from there, it's probably branched out from their sort of community and their show. But I love those guys. They've looked after me for the last 3 years, and they continue to do so. So I'm very, very grateful to know them. I'm very lucky that way.
All right, Tim. It's not a competition. It's not a competition. Just settle down, Tim. Settle down. I love this community. I really, truly do.
Yeah, me too.
Warm, inviting people, funny, hilariously. I get the buzz. I get so much of a buzz talking to either Luke, yourself, or everybody in the chat is just so inviting.
Yeah, no, everyone has made me feel super welcome, and yeah, I wouldn't. I think it's one of the best communities. I wouldn't give it up now at all. Yeah, I wouldn't give it up.
I learn so much from the channels as well. I mean, being retro. I mean, I don't know too much about retro figures. I mean, but I
well,
like to learn.
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, I don't. I'm certainly, no expert. My knowledge is very limited on a lot of stuff. But like you, Pete, it's just you learn as you watch other people, and you take. I mean, people like Analog Toys and Retro Blaster, especially. I learn a lot from those channels, and like I think Tim's put in the chat. I was very lucky to. I think it were not last year, the year before, December. I think it was December 21. I think it was. Michael French invited me onto his show on live stream on Retro Blasting, which was surreal for me. I mean, to watch someone like that for the size of the channel that he's got, to then have him reach out to me and ask me to go on the show, I found that absolutely bonkers. That he was sort of wanting me on there, and but what I also love that's one of the things that I love about his channel, though, Michael and Tony. They support the little guys. They're not in any way interested in, featuring massive channels because they think it might do something for their own channel. Dean All Things 80s as well has had me on. I love the fact that these big channels support the little guys because a lot don't. A lot of these massive channels, they get into bed with all these toy companies. Whereas people like sort of Dean, Michael, Tony, they support the little guys, and I think that's a huge credit to them. Yeah, so really good that they do that. Yeah,
I would love to be invited to Michael French's.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it when I was asked. I was a bit like that. Me? You want me to come on? But yeah, I mean, again, Michael, Tony, Dean, they're just good guys, nice guys, and just nice to be involved with them. Just that they know my name is strange to me. So yeah.
Oh, I think is it because of you're also a retro collector, and it's also they collect retro stuff, or was it?
Yeah, maybe. I don't. I think they just. I don't know if I was recommended to them or if they found me sort of naturally. I know that certainly one of Michael's Patreons sort of knows me quite well, and we speak a lot. So I don't know if they'd sort of put me, sort of mentioned me to them. I really don't know, but. But I think one of the reasons, certainly for Michael, I know he's got a huge fondness for the UK, so I think he likes to sort of speak to the UK guys, and but yeah, I know he lived here for a while. I think as he was growing up, and I know he loves the UK guys, so it's always nice to speak to him. Yeah,
I mean, do you think? I mean, do you? I'm getting it out, people. I'm getting it out. I'm like Hugh Grant. I stutter sometimes. Anyway, do you think you're getting a huge following yourself, or don't you?
No, not particularly. I mean, but I'm not the strange thing, Pete, is when I started this, I mean, like probably a lot of people are, when I started the channel, I was very early on, I was very, very obsessed with views and subs. Now, I've never done, obviously, anything like this before, so I had no real concept and no real idea of how fast or slow channels grow. I had no real idea how quick or slow it would happen. So early on, I was very obsessed with view counts and sub counts and things like that. Whereas now, I'm not bothered at all. I don't have a particularly big following. My sub count creeps very, very slowly. My YouTube views are usually around the 300 mark for any video, and that's fine. I'm not bothered. And I was very obsessed with it early on, whereas now, I'm not. Videos are almost secondary. I just love the community. I love being part of it. If I do a video and it's received well, brilliant. But if it's standard, if it's average, then fine.
I had the same.
I'm not obsessed by it.
I had the same thing. I had the same thing as you did. I had the worry of the views, how many views I was getting, the worriness of subscribers I had. It's all kind of gone out the window because
I mean, I've got a nucleus of people that watch. I'm not. obsessed with attracting new people. I mean, of course, I want new people to watch the channel, but I'm not. If I don't see a new person commenting, if I don't see a new person commenting the video, all the comments on my videos are people that I now recognise and know and I speak to, and it's very rare I get a new person commenting and get a new person subscribing, and that's fine. I don't mind that, and I think the reason why I'm now able to take the attitude I can take is, I don't know if you'll see this, but Chris Mewa from Chasing 80s Toys once said something that I just thought was, perfect way to sort of look at your channel and look at your videos. And he said, don't do videos for people that don't watch. Do your videos for the people that do. So produce a video and think about the viewers that you have and the people that come week in, week out, and think to yourself, would they enjoy this? Don't film videos trying to attract new people. If you get new people, brilliant. But do the videos for the audience that does watch, not for the audience that doesn't. And that stuck with me. I think that's a great bit of advice.
It's great. That's good advice, because I do a number of things. I do action figure reviews, but not to the extent that maybe Forsh is doing. Right,
yeah.
Doing articulation. I do film reviews, going through, and that will continue, people. The James Bond film reviews are coming back. So I've just been on a hiatus because I had to deal with a lot of health problems in the past 8 weeks, but that will come back. I love doing that. I love doing film reviews like that. I love doing TV reviews, because I think it all connects. I really do. Action figures,
absolutely.
Movies, and TV
absolutely
all connect.
100%.
Stuff. So, I mean, do you feel that way as well?
100%, Pete. Yeah, I mean, I in fact, I was watching a movie with Rachel only a couple of nights ago, a movie that is very that I have very fond memories again from growing up, which was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's on Netflix currently, and we were just browsing looking for something to watch. And I spotted that, and I said, "Oh, let me put that on." So I put that on, and sure enough, I'd not thought anything about it previously, but I was watching the movie, and I thought, what if you can get action figures of Bill and Ted? And sure enough, Kenner released some 90s action figures, Bill and Ted. So I started to look for those, and I've got to admit, I think there's every chance I'll pick some of those up at some point. But that was purely based on watching the film that night. I wouldn't have thought about them otherwise. So massively connected.
Take, for example, we'll just actually pop this on here. So Wheels of Chaos, doing Luke, right? I'm just watching this.
Since 1993,
he's doing a real good little series at the moment of Mad Max cars, right? Greenlit, die-cast cars. It's awesome, or motorbikes from the films, and that like I said, it all connects.
Right. So Luke's got a YouTube channel.
Yes, Wheels of Chaos.
I'll make sure I sub. I'll make sure I sub.
There you go. There you go, Luke. But I enjoy that because it's because again, it all connects. It involves movie, it involves toys, it involves
when you look at people's collections, most of it is obviously from movies or cartoons that they watched growing up. Mask, Transformers, Motu, Star Wars, all shows, whether it be movies, cartoons that we watched growing up. So that's where it comes from. Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite songs is "We Don't Need Another Hero" by Tina Turner. That's why I love collecting, I think. That's why I'm heading into a new, you could say not era, but a new involvement. I call it involvement. Let's call it that, Pete. I'm talking in the third person now, but I'm moving into world building in my collection.
Right. Okay.
Right? So
like dioramas, you mean, and things like that?
Sort of dioramas, but little scenes from different movies, like Jurassic Park's now got 3 3/4 action figures of the characters, right? Or Star Wars little dioramas from different scenes, right? But 3 3/4, because I haven't got a lot of room, right? And I want to have them dotted around my apartment, and those little iconic scenes of Back to the Future. Back to the Future, Mum and Doc, going like that. Sorry, you can't see me because I'm sitting down. Going like that with the fire coming through their legs. I mean, just doing something like that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah.
Just to also collecting 6-inch, but not as much as you know. And it all comes down to, like you were saying, room. You know, you've got to actually cater for the room for your collection. So
yeah,
it can be troublesome, right? It can be really troublesome.
I think it's probably one of the biggest problems that most collectors come up against, you know, as well as obviously rising prices. Once, I mean, this room now is now finally completely full. Every single wall is shelved out like what you see behind me, and every shelf is full. So that's where the problem comes, because there's always going to be more stuff that you want. There's always going to be things you want. So I'm now firmly in the realms of, if I want something in, I've got to get something out. And because I'm moving away from modern, there's always usually some modern stuff kicking around the room that it falls into two questions now. I look at things in my room, usually modern stuff, and it has to fall into two questions. So one is, have I searched for it? Have I looked for it in the last 6 months? As in, have I been on eBay looking for more from that line? Have I no, if the answer is no. And then the second question is, if I didn't have that, would I be that bothered? If the answer is no to both, then it's moving, it's going. So I am moving on some modern stuff so I can get more stuff in. The problem is, Pete, there will come a time, probably quite soon, where there is nothing in this room that I'm willing to move, that I'm willing to lose. Right. Once I get to that stage, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, because my collection cannot spill out into the house. It has to stay in here. So yeah, I think space is, or unless you're very lucky, like people like, I mean, I know Michael French has trouble with space, but if you're very lucky, like a lot of the American guys, they have huge basements. Everything has to stay in this one room for me, and it's a very modest sized room. So I think a lot of collectors have that problem. Yeah.
Would you knock out a wall?
No, we can't do that really, because like I say, my boy is still here. His room is next door. We've got the main bedroom upstairs. We have got a fourth room, which is technically a dressing room, but I don't think there's any chance on this planet Rachel would allow me to commandeer that room as well.
So you're not open to actually renting your kid out to your brother, your twin brother?
No, I don't think that would happen. I don't think that would fly. I mean, there's obviously eventually, maybe not that long in the distance, Connor will move out, but even then, I don't think Rachel would allow me to take that room.
Okay, son, you're young, but I'm going to ask you to move out. Sorry,
but I say, sorry, Tim's put there, it can't spill out. That he's sorry, it can't spill out. To be fair, Tim, I'm very lucky just to get a full room that I can dedicate my collection to, because I know a lot of guys don't. However, it has spilled out slightly, because I'm very lucky that Rachel did allow me to put Han Solo and Carbonite in the dining room, which I never ever thought she would. So I'm very lucky that way. So in theory, it has spilled out a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm shameful to say. I'm not really shameful. I'm not going to say that. I mean, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment, so I need to not. I don't have a massive room like you do, or one room full of toys. I don't. You know, I don't do that. So that's why my collection is drastically going to change into 3 3/4. I mean, I have to really. I mean, I used to. I used to impulse buy, right?
Yeah,
6
I
inches.
still do sometimes, yeah.
And that can be really detrimental to my health, right? Because it's expensive hobby. So, do you find that, again, I'm probably going over all around here, but do you find that you have to be more, let's say, picky, precise in what you want to buy, what you want to get?
100%, especially now. Obviously, while there was still plenty of room, it was a little bit of a free for all. I said, I'll just buy that, I'll just buy that, I'll just buy that. Whereas now, absolutely, I've had to sort of refocus and make some decisions on what I really want to buy. What do I really want? For that reason, because I've now got no room, I've got to be very sure about what I'm buying. I'm trying to avoid buying things that there's a chance that in 6 months' time I'll look at it and go, you know what, I'm going to sell that. I'm not quite sure why I bought that. I'm not bothered about it. And I think we all do that. I mean, there are various things that I've moved on in my collection recently that I've looked at and thought, I'm not even quite sure why I bought that. I'm not really bothered about it at all. So now I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to make sure that whatever I now buy is absolutely 100% something that I want in my collection that I'm going to keep. So yeah, impulse buying, especially through lockdown, impulse buying was, God, I've moved on so many things that I bought during lockdown that afterwards I just thought, I don't know why I bought that. Hey, Mike.
Mike, thanks for
No, we're
joining.
still here, mate. We're still here. Don't worry.
Yeah. Still in the still interviewing, having a good conversation with Luke. So yeah, still here, still here. Yeah, it's impulse buying. Again, it's just tragically awful for me.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I think you can make impulse buys that in the end are, you look at them afterwards and you think, I'm glad I did that. But I think you can, obviously there's plenty of impulse buys that I made certainly during lockdown that I've moved on since, because I looked at them and just thought, I'm not sure why I bought that. So yeah, so now I've got to be absolutely 100% sure that what I'm buying is what I want. Yeah, you've definitely, especially once you're out of room.
It's I can't I'm getting into my idea. I'm talking about
No, go for it, mate. No, please do.
My idea is to actually raving about this. I'm gonna do it now. Is that I want to because my walls are bare, right? The bare. Sorry. For the collection and world building of scenes, I want to kind of put them on the wall, so they're not kind of I mean, your collection of space is beautiful. It's good.
No,
It's good.
thank you.
It's good kind of because you can see it.
Yeah.
I want to kind of minimize my area, right, but still look like it's presentable, like yours.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a lot of the battle, isn't it? You want everything you want on display for people to see, but you also want it to look good. I never wanted the room to look messy, to just shove a figure or something on every single little inch of shelf space to the point where it looks so packed, and so you want it to display well as have everything out. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it can be a problem with small spaces that
absolutely
can go. Sorry, it's a bad impression of a balloon.
Yeah, I know what you mean though, Pete. I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
Injecting my horrible humor tonight. But as we talk to Luke, not to be confused, because we've got a little Luke in here from Australia. I'm going to open it for questions in the chat. So if you want to ask Luke anything, and if he does it well, anything due to the discussion here, not to other things.
I'm using my wall to hang figures on above. Yeah, that's. I'm just looking at the chat now, Pete. Luke said there that I'm using my walls to hang figures on above the cabinets. Yeah, I mean that's a great idea. I don't know if I can. I don't want my camera to cut out. It's a bit iffy, so I hope it doesn't. But I've put a lot of my figures on the wall above the lightsabers, and on the back of my door I've got some stuff there. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's anything to try and keep it looking good, without compromising. But sorry, I'm just reading the comment. That's Luke about. Yeah, that is, Mike started doing that, and I started doing that as well. That is a great idea. In fact, let me just grab one. So what Mike started doing, Pete, and what I've started doing, because I think it's a great alternative, is there's no way on this planet now I can afford to buy mint on card Star Wars figures, unopened Star Wars figures. So Mike has started doing it, and it's something I've started doing. I think Andy's doing it from the Holo Chronicles as well. You can now get cases, like acrylic cases, there you can put a used card back in, so a card back that's been opened, and then it has a little platform on the front where you can put the loose figure in front of it. I think Mike actually keeps his old bubbles on as well, and you can put a figure in front of it, so it kind of looks like a carded figure. And I've got one. Just let me show you what it looks like.
So that's me. Let me do that.
So one second. Let me put my plugs back in. Yeah, it's a really cool. It's all right. Yeah. It's a really cool alternative if you can't afford carded figures. I don't want it to fall over in there, so you can sort of do that. I don't know if you can.
Oops.
So
Yeah.
you can slip a card back in there, and then you can put a loose figure in front of it where the bubble used to be. So I
Right.
don't know how well. I know. Sorry about the reflection. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's a really, really good alternative, and it's cheap. I mean, the case I think cost me about maybe £18. I already had the figure, and then I got the card. Very lucky to get the card. I got that for about £17. So you can do this for about maybe 30, 35, 35 quid.
Okay.
So I just think it's a really good plan B if you can't afford carded figures, and they display great. And I know Mike's doing that, so yeah, I think it's a very good alternative.
Apologise, everybody. I was trying to put Luke on make him big, but
It's all right.
trying to get. So,
If you manage it, I can show it again if you manage it.
If I manage it. Good question. Good question. No. Now I'm playing with the bloody thing. It's horrible. All right. Can you? It's me.
Oh, it's you. Luke. No, you know what, Luke? I don't think it'll grow any bigger. It sounds strange that Luke's just asking about my beard in the chat. It gets to a certain level, then it kind of stops growing. And plus, my missus won't allow me to get it really, really bushy because she don't like it when it gets really bushy. So she's not a fan of it like this. I've got to trim it. She don't like it like this. I've got to trim it a little bit. But
yeah, well, I mean,
so it probably won't get any bigger now.
I kind of shaved my stubble last night, so that's why I'm clean shaven because it was getting unruly. So
yeah, it does.
I like my 5 o'clock shadow. So I will be growing that back, but I will have to actually. Why are we still talking about beards and 5 o'clock shadow?
Well,
thanks, Luke.
Me and Luke are having a real nice chat about beards. I'm enjoying it.
Now let's get back to our regular program, shall we? But yeah, it's collecting. You know, it's all about collecting what you like, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, I have no interest in buying things because it's an expensive item. You know, don't get me wrong. I might want something that is an expensive item, but I don't want it because it's expensive. I don't want to have something that just because people walk in and go, "Oh, that's expensive." I'm not interested in that in any way, shape, or form. If I want it, I want it because it maybe reminds me of my childhood and happier times, or you know, playing as a kid. I'm not interested in the value of it. It's how it makes me feel, and I think that's how most of us collect, and certainly not all of us, but most of us. But yeah. But hey, Phil, just seen Phil pop up in the chat. Good to see you, man.
Yep. How are you, mate? People are waking up probably, or in their evening attire. I know Phil's probably in his gi.
Yeah, Phil's in Japan, right? Have I got that right?
Hey?
Phil's in Japan, right? Have I got that right?
Japan, so he's probably dressed up in his dressing gown of a gi.
Imagine some of the toys he can get his hands on.
Yeah. I think he wears makeup as well. Old Phil, old geisha makeup. I think he does.
Hey,
sorry, Bill.
Hey.
So each to his own, isn't it, Phil? Each to his own, right? How long? I mean, I probably asked this question so many times, but it's come back to my mind. How long have you been collecting retro figures? How long has it been?
I probably started recollecting as an adult. It will have been around the time. It would have been around 2011, 2012. I started recollecting again. I managed to get into my own place at the end of sort of 2009, start of 2010. And then by the time 2011 came around, I picked up my first. I think I'd got my lightsaber from Rachel, and then I started picking up my first few bits. So I would say I've been recollecting as an adult for around 11, 12 years now. Which I suppose when you look around in this room, you think that's a lot in a relatively short space of time. But then again, when you think 12 years is actually quite a long time. But yeah, everything you see around me has been accumulated in the last sort of 11, 12 years.
Accumulation. It's
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, I won't do that thing again. But yeah. Okay. So yep. He says yep. Japan.
Japan, Australia. I'm not wearing my makeup yet. Oh dear me. Not wearing it yet.
I saw. Sorry. I'm a little bit racist there. I apologize.
I think you'll get away with it, Pete. You're all right.
I tend to do that because I'm short and I'm nice and kind. So, yeah, it's. I'm trying to.
Right. No, you're okay. I'm just looking through the chat just to see if I missed anyone's questions.
Yeah, just throw in a question. Luke is still here with me on the
beards. I'm just looking at Luke. Beards have a terminal length. Mine is 10 inches. My beard, that is.
Yes.
Yeah, mine's not that long. I don't know. This is about what it gets to. I don't even. This is a bit pathetic, really. And it's say this never gets any bigger. It's probably about as much as far as it goes, and I've got to trim it down.
I saw a video. Here we go. Here we go. I saw a video with your brother, who's a twin.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right. So, how did that fare with growing up? You probably told the story.
You know what? No, actually, no. That's not a question that gets asked a huge amount. That's maybe based on the fact that not everybody knows I'm a twin. It was something that, I mean, it's not obviously something I advertised. Why would I? And then people go, "Oh, you're a twin. You never said." And you think, well, it's not something you sort of just, oh, by the way, I'm Luke and I'm a twin. You don't throw it in there. So I just thought it would be a good idea to get us both on camera and do some questions. We're actually due to do a part 2, but I can never find a time when we're both free. But growing up as a twin, I mean, look, it had its pros and cons. It was amazing growing up and having a brother of the same age, so that you know we did a lot of stuff together. We obviously we played together. We both had our own taste in toys and things like that. So it was really nice growing up with a brother of the same age. And obviously being a twin, it was never strange to us because it was all we'd ever known. People still find it fascinating now. Whereas to us, it's just a normal thing because it's, but to other people, it's still quite fascinating. But so it was nice to grow up with. But obviously we were very, very competitive, like I guess a lot of siblings are. But when the older we got and it branched out into, like, when we started playing sports, for example, we got extremely competitive to the point where it was pretty unhealthy. So there was pros and cons. It was amazing growing up together. We got up to a lot of mischief and blamed each other for a lot of things, and we'd swap lessons at school and all that stuff, because if we were bored, we didn't like my next lesson, so we'd swap. So that was all good fun, really good fun. But yeah, when we got a bit older and we got into our teens, and we got really competitive and to the point where it was unhealthy and started affecting our relationship, I would say. So, but luckily, we got through all that, and now as adults, we're very, very. I'm lucky to say that we're very, very close. We don't go more than a day or two without speaking. Our families often come together now, and we eat together on a weekend, and we'll have Sunday dinners together, and we'll go for days out together. So, what I would probably say, it was fantastic growing up together, but I would say we've never been as close growing up as what we are now as adults. Whatever, we're still heavily into sport, but we don't compete against each other. We now support each other, and we encourage each other, and so we're very, very close now. Probably closer than we've ever been. So yeah, there's pros and cons to being a twin. That's all I'll say. There's pros and cons to being a twin.
Does your brother collect toys?
Not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. He likes it. He appreciates. He often comes in here and looks around, and he'll say, "Oh, I remember we had that. I remember we had that. And I remember we had that." And he'll often speak fondly about this stuff, but he has no real desire to collect any of it. Did you find? You know what? We didn't, Phil. Actually, we what we used to do was we used to sort of collaborate. We would go to Woolworths. I remember our grandparents used to come on a weekend, and they always used to take us to the local Woolworths. Now we used to try and play it a little bit sly, because our mum and dad would give us pocket money for the weekend, and occasionally our grandparents would come and they would also give us pocket money, but we never used to tell the other one. We would never tell our grandparents that our mum and dad would give us some, and we would never tell our mum and dad that our grandparents would give us some. So a lot of the weekends we used to get 2 sets of pocket money, and then they would take us to the local Woolworths. And what we would do is we would decide between ourselves, because we used to play together. So we would decide. I might say, well, I'm going to buy a Luke Bespin, so why don't you buy a Vader? Or I'm going to buy a, I'm going to buy a Lando, so why don't you buy a, I don't know, a Lobot or whatever. I'm going to buy a Leia Bush, so maybe you can buy a, I don't know, Han or a Bib Fortuna or a, So we used to sort of do it that way. I never really remember us falling out over figures. We used to sort of collaborate more than anything and make decisions together who was buying who. So yeah, I don't ever remember us falling out over anything.
Yeah, it's yeah. I never had that with my brothers, unfortunately, but that's that'll bring the conversation right down to a tearful.
Oh, well, we don't want that.
No, I don't. So, what's this? What's Luke saying? That's a lot of words.
My brother and I are 5 years apart. I'm older, and we grew up playing with Motu Star Wars, Marshall Brave. I love Brave Star, Transformers, etc. And he's still into it. Yeah, purely vintage only. Yeah, great. All brilliant lines. Yeah, absolutely. And good that you were sort of, even though there was a little bit of a chunk, a little bit of a gap between you both, a little bit of an age gap. Nice that you had that. Yeah.
I mean, it was good when when I saw that video with you and your brother, Jono. I mean, that that the brotherly friendship. I mean,
yeah, we do have that bit of back and forth, and we often wind each other up, but it's always taken in good fun now. And but the good thing is we have that relationship. I mean, especially when the video on camera. I mean, I think Joe played up to a little bit, and probably so did I. But we are like that. But luckily, like I say, we are very close now, and we often go to each other with, not just for have a laugh and a joke. We go to each other with problems now, and if ever we've got any issues, we talk to each other. And I'm very lucky that we're very, very close now, and long may it continue.
But I think everybody has a different presence on camera.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably. Shabby doesn't. Mark Shabby Geek, though, he's exactly the same as,
But I mean, some have, I mean, that's who they are, really. So, that's the good thing, is that everybody has their own presence on camera. Their own. When I just heard you say that being on camera with your brother, it's you either you put on a presence or you.
Well, I think naturally everyone does a little bit of a not an act. I don't want to say an act because that sounds deceitful, but I think everyone puts on a little bit of a slightly different persona on camera. They maybe speak a little different. I mean, I've got to admit, when I do videos, I often speak slightly different. I say certain words slightly different than what I would in my everyday life. My brother sometimes watches my videos and says to me, "Why did you say that like that? We don't talk like that." And I'm like, no, I don't know. It just came out because. So I think it's a little bit like when you pick up the phone, everyone says you have a phone voice. You maybe speak a little bit more, try to speak a little bit more clearly and a little bit more eloquent when you're on the phone. Whereas when you're talking to your mate down the pub, you talk how you would talk. So I think that's a little bit. I don't think people aren't who they are, to the point where they're putting on this big show and big act. But I think people probably adjust. Well, yeah, but you're an actor, so I think.
What are you
saying? I think people just put on a little bit of an adjustment, maybe, to their personality or whatever.
Give. Let's say a big word for me here tonight is different cadences in their voice.
Yeah.
So, and actual fact, here's one of them now.
Modern collecting is great, but vintage, yeah, absolutely, Mike. I enjoy various modern lines, but you can't beat vintage collecting. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, toys, really. I've been grappling with this question, asking anybody for this question, right? I did actually ask this question of Stu, that toys and today can be a lot more controversial than discussion wise than anything else. That is it getting a bit of a problem with the toys discussions down the line?
Well, there are certain discussions about toys that are obviously a problem in the community that always have been and probably always will be. Whether you want to get into that or not, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, obviously there are certain topics that we know, sort of trigger certain people. I try to stay away from it. I'm only here to.
Let's veer off that. But toys are supposed to be, and they are supposed to be enjoyed. Right?
Yeah, so 100%.
100%. Going back to our childhood, we got them out of the boxes.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Pete, that was their purpose. And again, I'm not going to go into it in any kind of depth.
No.
But the whole purpose of these toys, every single toy that was made and manufactured, the purpose and idea was that the intention was every single one was opened and played with. That was the intention of every toy, every playset, every vehicle, every figure. They were all made with the intention that they are opened and played with. So that is where I think there are certain lines that get blurred, because obviously we know that there are certain people out there that their attitude is, if you've got a Star Wars figure that isn't now on the card, you do not open it. Well, if you've bought it and it's yours, it was always meant to be opened and played with. So if you want to open it, open it. Yeah. I think Slave Layer is not a controversial toy in 2023. No, me neither, Mike. But there might be a lot of people that disagree with us. It's a character from a film. It's a character from a movie.
I'm going to go back up here. This quite funny.
Yeah. You should hear my wife's work phone voice. It's scary as hell. Yeah, absolutely. My missus talks totally different when she's at work. She works in a school, and I've seen her at work before, and her personality is completely different at work. And she'll come home and I'll just be like, that. Who was that at work that I saw? You were talking as this person, you were acting all different. And she's like, oh well, you know what, you're like, you've got to be like that at work, haven't you? I'm not. She works in a school, so
I put on a little bit of a persona at work because I was used to be a cleaner.
Just a little bit. Oh, dear, I thought you were about to tell me about your Lord of the Rings work there.
Oh no! I do actually put on I do put on a bit of an entertainment show when I'm around other my friends who extras. I love to entertain. I love to actually just make people laugh. I'd love to do that.
I think that's a trait of somebody that is in your line of work, though, isn't it? I think you've got to have that kind of character trait to be in your line of work. And I'm on about acting now, not cleaning.
Yeah, I mean, I've met people from different parts of New Zealand as New Zealanders, as extras, and I find myself sitting down with cups of coffee in my hand, copious amounts of coffee in my hand, biscuits flailing out of my mouth, and and making people laugh.
Well, I mean, if you can make people laugh, mate, I think that's one of the best things in life. If you've got the ability to make people laugh, then I think that's great. Yeah.
Luke, I spent a whole 5 days on Mortal Engines set.
All right, yeah.
And I could not stop myself on joking around one-liners, conversations that led to jokes, one-liners, wisecracks, and just entertaining people. I could not shut my mouth up for the whole 5 days, and they were long days because I love being around people, and I love kind of and they make me laugh as well, and that's the enjoyment out of it. So. I like doing this as well, interviewing people from around the world, because they make me laugh. And if I can make some really crass, horrible, dumb, stupid joke, I'll do it.
Well,
and not
that'll always make me laugh.
Well, yeah, so
I've got schoolyard humour. My sense of humour is proper schoolyard. So yeah, I love stupid stuff.
So
I've just seen this. My wife's not another toy voice is scary. Yeah, my missus too, Phil. I mean, she calls it crap. If I get a parcel, she'll say, "What crap have you bought this time? How dare you?" Yeah. So
I don't have a wife, so I'm lucky there. So,
you're lucky.
yeah.
High fives here. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan. But I say that if you can't, I mean, if you make one person laugh, you know, it makes my day. It does.
Absolutely, mate. I think it's a great quality. If you can make people laugh, then yeah, I think you're halfway there. But I'm just looking at some of the Rachel when some of the her sort of look. If she sees a box arrive, she just shoots me this look. It's frightening. It's not Hasbro, it's Disney. Kathleen Kennedy made it quite clear that a figure won't be released while she's still there. Yeah, I mean, look, I guess it depends where you stand on it. For me, it's just a figure from a movie. It was in the movie. It was just a figure from the movie. I think the issue is the name, isn't it? What people refer to her as. But change the name and release the figure. If you're that upset about it, but yeah, for me, it's just a figure from a movie.
Yeah, it's tend to actually argue so many things in this industry that really it's what comes down to it. It's just toys, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
just vintage crap makes us happy. Yes, Mike, and this is a thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm very lucky. Rachel does support me really. You know, she buys me a lot of the stuff. A lot of the stuff in here she's bought. You know, and she does support me, but it's usually accompanied by a huge amount of eye rolling. But she does support me.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's not for me. I don't have a wife. I don't have any money either, so that's probably a bonus.
Well, you'll have even less, mate, if you have a wife. Sorry, anyone in there? Sorry in the chat if anyone's in there. Any wives in there?
I'm going like that cat and Puss in Boots. So yeah. If you haven't seen that movie, you probably
I haven't seen that movie.
Okay. There we go. Okay, everybody. If anybody's got another question, that's cool. We are nearly. I'm about to wrap things up.
Oh my life, that's gone fast. That's gone really quick. Wow. Yeah, God, that's flown.
But just having a
look.
Looking
see if I believe it when I see it, but I have a feeling if Mattel made one, it would be. Yeah, true, Tim. Yeah, Barbie. Yeah, because have we got a Barbie film coming out now? Is there a Barbie film?
Yeah. Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling.
Oh dear me. Yeah, I may give that one a sidestep, but you can imagine figures will be coming then.
It's because that's why Hasbro and now Mattel are teaming up. So Mattel is Barbie. Mattel is Barbie. So they'll jump on that and with probably a 6-inch line or something like that. Or,
you can imagine. They even try to redo the original, the big ones, but yeah.
The thing is that with the Mattel and Hasbro, Mattel's got an opportunity to actually do bigger and better Monopoly and board game kind of aspects of and their rival company. Everybody knows they're rival companies. They have been for East Coast, West Coast, right? So they're the biggest companies in the world, Mattel and Hasbro. So now they're teaming up together. So,
one giant super toy company, like Power Rangers. So is either of you two going? Either of you going to Star Wars Celebration Japan 2015? Absolutely not, Mike. I couldn't afford to go to the one in London. Never mind the one in Japan. So I'd love to. I mean, obviously, I'd love to, but no, I don't think there's any chance of that whatsoever. It was going to be well over £1,000 for me to go in this country. There's no way that would fly. So no,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I mean, Japan can be expensive, I think. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the cost of that, but just getting there and tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to go. I mean, Japan, I'm sure again, it'd be amazing to go there. But no, just the one in London was far too expensive for me to go to. So no, I'll have to live vicariously through Phil if Phil's going.
It's a good question, Phil. Are you going?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've made an assumption there. I'm assuming Phil would be going, but he might not be. I don't know how much he loves Star Wars. Maybe he's not. Dad joke: why can't people become pirates? Because of their was that eyes? Oh dear.
And thousands of people have unsubscribed to Count Doom. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't unsubscribe to Luke.
Mike's seriously considering going to Japan. How cool would that be to see usual Mike there? Wow. Yeah. I hope you go, Mike. If you can go to that, wow, that'd be great. What an experience!
Mike, can you fit me into your suitcase because I'm small enough, probably.
Yeah.
So, here we go.
There you go. Yeah,
I am now.
absolutely.
Thanks to Mike. Heads up. Right.
Yeah. Phil and Mike hanging at Celebration in Japan. How cool would that be? Yeah.
Yeah, an Aussie and a Kiwi. Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic conversations about cricket.
Video call Mike, and he can walk around with me on his FaceTime.
Seriously, guys, I'm small enough to fit into a suitcase.
Carry on our check. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There you go, Pete. Carry on our check-in luggage.
Was it?
No, but hey, look, if you manage to get there, Mike, wow, what a great experience that would be. I hope you managed to go. And tell you what, I mean, obviously, I was gutted that I couldn't really go in to Celebration in London, but having seen some people's videos and spoke to some people that had been, I'm not sure I would have coped with just how busy it was. I mean, obviously, it's always going to be busy, but some of the people, I mean, the amount of people I think it would have flipped me. Oh, favorite motive? Oh, that's a good question. If I had to pick one, I love Battle Armor Skeletor and Battle Armor He-Man, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be this guy. No shock probably, but I do love Trapjaw. But Battle Armor He-Man and Skeletor would probably be a close second. I do like them. But yeah, probably Trapjaw. I just like his colours, and I tend to gravitate to the sort of what would you call them, goons of shows. I tend to gravitate to the goons. I like the goons,
the villains.
Yeah, well, the bad guy and like, but the you know that they were always sort of deemed the unintelligent ones.
Yeah,
a little bit like Mask. I always gravitated to Cliff Dagger. Yeah,
the henchman. The henchman.
Yeah. Favorite. Ed Five's just saying favourite mask. So is that mask figure or mask vehicle, Ed? I assume you mean mask vehicle because that's what generally their line's about. That's a good one as well because I've got loads of mask vehicles that I love. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Switchblade. I think Switchblade would be my favourite, but I've got a lot that I really like. It would be tough to pick a top 5, but I would probably go Switchblade. Yeah.
God, it sounds like a fierce weapon in somebody's hand, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of. In fact, I might be able to grab it. I don't want to knock anything over, but a lot of kids when I was growing up, the reason why certain people. Oh, look, I've knocked it over now. The reason why a lot of people weren't keen on Switchblade was because it was an airborne vehicle that turned into another airborne vehicle, whereas a lot of mask vehicles, it was like a ground vehicle that turned into an air vehicle. But this one was a helicopter into a fighter jet. I'm just wondering if I can turn it into a fighter jet while I'm here, but it might be difficult to do without being able to put it down on the table. But It's going to do it. Yeah.
Dating
I
game.
don't know if it's going to do
Sorry.
it. Yeah.
We get some music going.
Let's see if we can do it. Right. Can I do it? So awkward to do when you can't put it on the table. Right. So let's get them in there. Okay, you ready? See if we can get the wings to go. There we go.
Hey.
And then we click that in there. And then we put them up, and there we go. And it's a fighter jet.
Nice.
But it was a great toy. I loved it when I was a kid, and still love it now. And I was very lucky to get this one gifted to me for my birthday from VTR Dave.
Nice.
So yeah, that would probably be my favourite. But there's so many other good vehicles. Slingshot is a great vehicle. Jackhammer is a great vehicle. Thunderhawk, yeah, they're all brilliant. What have you got there, Pete?
I'm just my applause has went off accidentally. And no, I don't mean my appendage, people. I mean my clapping sound effect. Let's not go there.
Can't beat the baddies in Motu. Yeah, I mean, you know what, Phil? I'm just reading some of the comments, Pete. Can't beat the baddies in Motu. I tend to gravitate to the bad guys in any line. I think the bad guys are always cooler. Even in Star Wars, I think the bad guys are cooler. You know, Mask the cooler, Motu, the bad guys are cooler. Yeah, I think the bad guys in most franchises are better. I don't know, just like them.
Yeah, well, look at Star Wars, really, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, you know,
Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Darth Sidious.
I just think even the stormtroopers, how good they look, and I gravitate to the bad guys. Yeah.
And something I think we all do sometimes, don't we? We all kind of gravitate into the bad.
I just think they always seem cooler. You know, always seem cool, like Megatron over Optimus, and I just always think they were cooler. I agree.
They always have such fantastic lines as well in movies. Like Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
We're just 100%.
Toys.
100%. I prefer Dragon Blast Skeletor. Yeah, that's a cool figure, Dan. That is a cool figure, Dragon Blast Skeletor. I agree, Luke. Cobra and G.I. Joe. Yeah, I'm not a G.I. Joe collector, but again, the Cobra figures. I mean, I remember. I think I only had a handful of G.I. Joe when I was a kid, but I do remember playing with a lot. And I'm sure they had a vehicle that went with them as well on water. I remember having the Crimson Twins. I remember playing with them a lot. And I'm sure they had a vehicle, like a little speedboat. Phil will probably be able to tell me there. But yeah, the bad guys are always cooler in most toy lines, I think. Yeah.
Did you just say that? Right. Sorry. I think you mentioned that. So
the colours on the bad guys are better. Yeah. All day, Phil. All day long. Yeah, they are. Just think they're more appealing, and and plus I like to be a bad guy. No, I mean I like the good guys, but I like to be a bad guy. We all like to be the bad guy, don't we? More fun, isn't it, being the bad guys?
Well, no, it is, yeah.
So Freeze Roboto. but I prefer. I usually prefer the bad guys. Although I did. Actually, just before I've shown this on a previous show last week, I did get a bit of a bargain, a Transformer recently that I've been chasing for a while. He will feature on a video, but just while we're talking, this is a good guy. He started as a bad guy, but then became a good guy, and I was buzzing to get this for a good price. I got this guy the other day. Now, I believe, again, I'm not massively up on my Transformers, but I believe Jetfire started as a Decepticon and then defected to the Autobots. I got that for 30 quid. So I was really just needs his blaster. So I was really pleased to get that. Yeah, but somebody who's more of an expert on Transformers will be able to tell me. But I'm pretty sure Jetfire started as a Decepticon and then defected.
Yes. Well, a couple of them that actually defected, didn't they? I think so.
Yeah, probably more than one, but I'm not certainly no
Skyfire.
But yeah, I think it started as Skyfire. I think it was that was his original name, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so. I mean, Yeah, someone else will be able to tell. I'm not massively up on Transformers. I do collect them, but my knowledge
No,
is very limited.
I didn't collect Transformers at all, really.
Right. So
I'm like Shabby. It takes me probably about three days to actually transform the bloody things. So,
right.
I mean,
I don't think he defected, but in the cartoon he was called Skyfire. Yeah, I don't know. Then I've got it in my head that he started as a Decepticon and defected. I might have that wrong, but I'm sure. I may have that wrong.
well,
But yeah, I recall him being called Skyfire.
Well, I'm gonna defect out of here. Sorry, bad thing. And I'm gonna thank you, Luke from Reynolds
Pleasure.
Reviews.
Pleasure.
We're gonna leave it on that defection note. And I am going to close it off here. I'm going to say thank you again to Luke Reynolds Reviews for joining me on the
pleasure.
PG It's been fun. I've learnt a lot. And I thank you in the chat, Tim Hayes.
Thank you to everyone in the chat.
And the Wheels of Chaos Doom, Luke over there in Australia. Thank you much. Thank you very much, Phil from Treasure for Triggers, and Mike from Usual Mike for popping in and saying g'day.
Great to see
Anyone
you.
who I've missed, thank you very much. And I am again. Before we do go, let's just. I'm going to ask you the question. Have you got anything lined up for upcoming videos, Luke?
Always got stuff lined up. There will be a video dropping this Sunday, but I hesitate to say what they're about because I don't want to give the topics away. But yeah, plenty coming up. I've got to be honest, I'm very, very lucky at the moment. I seem to be getting sent a lot of gifts, which I'm very humbled by. So there'll be another gift unboxing this weekend, one next weekend as well. But I'm not going to tell you the toy line. So yeah, but loads of stuff coming up. One video a week that'll keep going at the moment for the foreseeable. But yeah, keep an eye on Sunday. It'll be dropping on Sunday. Well, Sunday morning for me. It'll be Sunday evening for you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, look forward to that. Also, if you haven't subscribed to Reynolds Reviews, subscribe.
Thank you.
And if you have, stay subscribed.
Stay, don't leave.
But it's again, I can't thank you enough, Luke. It's been wonderful.
Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
And talking to you, and because we've just talking to you individually, not in the chat, it's been awesome.
Yeah,
to get to you a lot better. And so as we wind down, thank you again. God bless you all in the chat, and we will see you in the green room, Luke. And it's just say goodbye. Cheers, Dan.
Thanks, everyone.
Sorry. There is. So yes, sorry. Look, I probably put you in the green room. I am terrible at this, but thank you very much again for coming along and joining me, Luke, on the P.G.M Show live. I just hopefully my computer does not actually fall over. Anyway, again, I will say thank you very much to everybody in the chat. Take care, stay safe out there wherever you are in the world, Australia, America, Japan, and anywhere else. Yeah. So it's good night from me. I'm stealing that off the two Ronnies. I'm just babbling now. Anyway, good night and God bless. Ah.